Sama kaibigan sa ating napapapagkasan ay nasa pagkayo. Magkasangga, magkakapit, magkasangga, magkakapit.
Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng Equilibrium Probiotics. Ito ay ang bagong food supplement na gawa sa mga piling gulay at prutas at dumaan sa isang masusing proseso para mapangalagaan ang inyong kalusugan. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay dinisenyo para sa kalusugan ng ating tiyan, tulungan ng pagkuha ng sapat na nutrisyon at ang pagpapalabas sa ating sistema ng mga nakakasirang toxins. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may iba't ibang disenyo at sangkap base sa inyong pangangailangan. Mula sa boost para sa mga bata, fortitude, gusto grade, miracle fruit, periwinkle, at ang pinakabago, liver pro. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may pagmamalaki ng produktong gawa sa kanila. Ito ay mabibili sa Dashen, Geta Road, San Sebastian, Phase 3, Binauganan, Tarlac City. At para sa mga malalayong lugar, mabibili din ang produkto ng Equilibrium Probiotics sa Lazada. Ito ay eksklusibong gawa ni Ginang Malu Reyes Lure. Ano pang hinihintay nyo, mga kasangga? Hala, bili na! Good morning, Michelle. MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Hatid sa inyo ni Kuya Dong. Good morning, Delia Bersola. Magandang umaga po, mga kasangga. Ito na naman po ang inyong MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Magbibigay po sa inyo ng mga daily dose of news, mga mahalagang updates sa loob at labas ng ating bansa. Pero bago po natin simulan ang ating pagbabalita, samahan niyo po muna ako sa isang maikling panalangin. Sa ngalan ng Ama, ng Anak, ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Mahal naming lumikha, maraming salamat sa bagong araw na ipinagkaloob ninyo sa amin. Sa mapayapang gabing lumipas at sa patuloy na pagbuhos ng iyong mga biyaya sa amin at sa aming bayan. Naway ipagkaloob mo pa sa amin ang lakas at tibay ng loob upang mapaglabanan ang kasamaan at manatili po kami sa paggawa ng mabuti sa kapwa at sa pagsunod sa iyong itinurong tamang landas. Lahat ng gawain namin, inaalay namin sa iyong anak na si Jesus, na aming Panginoon. Amen. Sa ngalan ng Ama, ng Anak, Espiritu Santo. Amen. Good morning, Michelle Taya. Thanks for joining me. To start off our news reading for today, here is a summary of our top stories. DBM Chief Defense Fund hike for Intel, Marcos trips. 30 million peso yearly BSP finance chiefs, highest paid government officials. Public schools to open August 29. Singapore executes fifth prisoner this year for drug trafficking. Rains raise Angat Dam water level by 20 meters. EGA infrastructure damage balloons to 7 billion pesos. 119 rescued from sinking boats in northern Samar, Quezon. Finally, in sports, nationals repulse Iranians. Our top story is brought to you by Equilibrium Probiotics. Please scan the QR code to see the health benefits of Equilibrium Probiotics and where it is available. DBM Chief Defense Fund hike for Intel, Marcos trips. Report by Delon Porcalia and Alexis Romero to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. The higher allocation in the proposed 2024 budget for intelligence and confidential funds, as well as for President Marcos' local and foreign trips, would benefit the country. The Department of Budget and Management said yesterday, as it defended the increase amounting to more than 600 million pesos. The Marcos administration has proposed a 9.2 billion peso outlay for confidential and intelligence funds in the 5.768 trillion National Expenditure Program for 2024, higher by about 120 billion peso than the amount set aside this year. Some 4.3 billion has been earmarked for confidential funds, while 4.9 billion has been allocated for intelligence funds across all agencies. The government is also seeking a higher budget for travels for the Office of the President under next year's spending plan. 1.408 billion peso would be set aside for local and foreign missions and state visits, about 58% higher than the 893.87 million allocated for this year. Speaking to reporters at Malacanang, Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman said the increase in confidential and intelligence funds was due to the higher allocations for the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, Anti-Money Laundering Council, and Presidential Security Group. Like the DICT, it has additional confidential funds for cyber security because we all know that we are pushing for digitalization. And when you fund digitalization, parallel to that is the cybersecurity investment, she said. Budget Assistant Secretary Mary Ann de la Vega said the outlay would fund the cybersecurity programs of DICT and the intelligence activities of the PSG under Marcos' overseas travels. Of the 9.2 billion confidential and intelligence funds, nearly half, or 4.5 billion peso, has been earmarked for the Office of the President. 1.7 billion has been set aside for the Defense Department and some 500 million peso for the Office of the President. The Education Department, led by Vice President Sara Duterte, stands to get 150 million peso in confidential funds. Pangandaman stressed there would be accountability in the use of the confidential and intelligence funds, a controversial item in the national budget. The budget chief said a joint circular release in 2015 identifies the projects and programs that can be funded by the allocations and provides details on how the funds should be disbursed. Accountability. So if you look at it, our finance or admin officers and disbursing officers will have accountability, the budget chief said. On the higher budget for Marcos' foreign and local trips, Pangandaman said the travels include roadshows aimed at encouraging businesses to invest in the Philippines. When I was asked previously during the SONA or State of the Nation address, what I thought was the accomplishment of the administration in such a short time. I think it is to bring us back to the map of an investment hub and opportunity for other countries, Pandama said. Even the economic managers, if you will notice, we've been going out of the country to present the Philippines as an investment hub. So I think the travel expenses, as long as it will be beneficial and there is more advantage for our country, I think it's okay. It's justified, she added. Accused by his critics of traveling too much, Marcos has had 13 official overseas trips since becoming president last year, the latest being his state visit to Malaysia last month. During his second SONA last July 24, Marcos said his foreign trips, which he called economic missions, have yielded an estimated total investment pledge of 3.9 trillion peso with the potential to generate 170,000 jobs. Among the president's expected foreign trips this year are the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit in Indonesia and the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation meeting in the US. The proposed 5.768 trillion annual national budget for next year is 9.5% higher than this year's outlay. 1.4 trillion for Marcos. Good morning, PWD President Ramon Berenguer of Barangay Maligaya. Maraming salamat sa iyong pagsali sa akin ngayong umaga, Brad. 1.4 trillion peso for Marcos. Of the total outlay, 1.4 trillion has been allotted by President Marcos for his administration's massive infrastructure projects dubbed as Build Better More or BBM. For the next 5 years, we must do more building on the gains that we have made through the whole of government and whole of society approach. We need this not only to be effective, but to be transformative, the chief executive stated in his budget message to Congress. The infrastructure spending will continue to be substantial, target between 5 and 6% of GDP or gross domestic product for the entire plan period. Marcos said, economic managers disclosed a total of about 8 trillion would be allotted for his administration until he steps down in 2028. Now, on his second year in office, the president pointed out that one of the keys to continuing economic growth is its infrastructure development. Hence, his aim to continue and expand the golden age of infrastructure of the country. The DBM has earmarked 801.2 billion for the Department of Public Works and Highways and a separate 176.4 billion peso for the Department of Transportation, both of which fall within the public sector infrastructure budget. There are 194 high-impact infrastructure flagship projects approved by the National Economic and Development Authority, including public transport, power, health, IT, water resources, and agriculture. These include the North-South Commuter Rail System and the Metro Manila Subway Project Phase 1 under Rail Transport Program. aviation and maritime infra programs of the DOTR, and the Land Transportation Program to be complemented by transport-related projects of DPWH. The House leadership under Speaker Martin Romualdez aims to make the NEP a priority measure, which it hopes to finish before the congressional break in the first week of October. Rep. Saldico, chairman of the Appropriations Committee, tasked to deliberate on budget proposals, likewise stressed that they are ready to thoroughly assess the government's NEP for 2024. The committee will put its nose to the grindstone so that the House will be able to approve the budget on third reading before Congress adjourns on September 30th, the senior administration lawmaker maintained. I have clear marching orders from the Speaker. Make sure that the budget fully supports the Marcos administration's 8-point socioeconomic agenda through sound fiscal management, the Bicol Party List congressman said. Co-heads the 54-member Party List Coalition Foundation Incorporated in the House. This necessitates the committee checking if the projected revenues and borrowings reflected in the BESF are enough to fund the expenses and just as importantly, if they are funding the right projects and initiatives, the House leader said. Moving on to our next top story. ₱30 million yearly, BSP finance chief's highest paid government officials. Report by Elizabeth Marcelo to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Executives of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP have dominated anew the Commission on Audit's annual list of highest paid government officials, with former Governor Felipe Medalla topping the list with a net pay of 34.173 million last year. Based on the COA 2022 report on salaries and allowances or ROSA, uploaded on its website yesterday, Medalla's net pay grew by 56.5% or 12.342 million peso from the 21.831 million peso net pay he received in 2021 when he landed third on the list. Medalla took the top spot from former BSP Governor and now Finance Secretary Benjamin Diokno, who came in second with a net pay of 28.781 million peso from 41.812 million peso in 2021. Medalla ended his term as BSP Governor on July 2 and was replaced by Eli Remullana, who will serve a 6-year term. The COA breakdown showed that Medalla's net pay for 2022 included 6 million peso in basic salary as BSP Governor for 6 months, July to December 2022, and 3.3 million in basic salary as BSP Monetary Board member for 6 months, January to June 2022. 11.864 million peso in allowances, 11.893 million in bonuses, incentives and benefits, 1.092 million in discretionary and extraordinary and miscellaneous expenses or EME, and 24,000 in additional compensation and honorarium. A total of 9,619 officials from 1,000 national government agencies, government-owned and controlled corporations, state universities, and colleges and water districts were included in the COA 2022 ROSA. Excluded in the report were elected government officials such as the President senators, and congressmen. Meanwhile, Jokno had a huge cut in his basic salary to 7.64 million peso from 12 million peso in 2021 during his full term as BSP governor. Apart from his basic salary, Jokno's net pay for 2022 also included 7.278 million peso in allowances, 11.555 million in bonuses, incentives and benefits, 2.195 million peso in discretionary and EME, 24,000 in additional compensation and honorarium, and 89,067 peso classified as others. Except for Diokno, the top 10 highest paid officials for 2022 all came from the BSP. In third spot was BSP Monetary Board member Anita Linda Aquino with a net pay of 26.362 million peso from 21.426 million peso in 2021 when she was sixth on the list. Aquino was followed by fellow Monetary Board member Victor Bruce Tolentino with a net pay of 25.679 million peso from 23.292 million peso in 2021 when he was listed as the second highest paid government official. In fifth place for 2022 was BSP Deputy Governor Chuchi Fonasier with a net pay of 25.157 million peso, followed by Monetary Board members Peter Favila with 24.389 million peso and Antonio Abaca Jr. 24.026 million peso. Senior Assistant Governor and General Counsel Elmore Capule with 22.474 million peso and BSP Deputy Governor Francisco Daquila Jr. 22.387 million peso and Senior Assistant Governor Edna Villa with 20.902 million pesos. The other BSP executives in the list are Senior Assistant Governors Maria Ramona Gertrudes Santiago with 20.857 million peso, Iluminada Sikat with 19.877 million peso, and Johnny No Ravallo with 19.158 million pesos. And Deputy Governor Eduardo Boglier with 18.804 million peso. Landing 15th on the list was Supreme Court Associate Justice Marvick Leonen with a net pay of 18.607 million peso. He took the spot from Chief Justice Alexander Gasmundo, who fell to 17th place in 2022 with a net pay of 14.991 million peso. Kakaya naman sa kanila, ang lilit na sahod. Talo pa yung barangay natin sa era. Kala ko ba naghihirap ang bansa natin? Hindi pala tayo lang naghihirap. Good morning, Maria. Thanks for joining me this morning. And good morning, Admin Sol. Thank you. Public schools to open August 29. Time check is 6:04 in the morning. Para sa mga papasok sa trabaho, gising-gising. Good morning, Brother Eric muli. Thanks for watching. Public schools to open August 29. Report by John Vic Mateo to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Public elementary and high schools will start the next school year on August 29, the Department of Education announced yesterday. Private schools, meanwhile, may choose to open classes on any date starting the first Monday of June, but not later than the last day of August. The agency said in a statement, citing the law that set the length of the school year. Last year, the DepEd temporarily set the next school year to run from August 28 to July 28, 2024. However, the target date for opening of classes was later declared a Monday to commemorate National Heroes Day. The department order outlining the school calendar, which would finalize the schedule and the number of school days, has yet to be released. The Teachers Dignity Coalition had urged the agency to shorten the next school year and end it on April 27, 2024, to allow the opening of classes in June next year. The proposed schedule includes 33 Saturdays of asynchronous class, bringing the total number of school days to 193, which is more than the DepEd prescribed 180 non-negotiable school days, the teachers group said. If DepEd adopts the proposal, the TDC said the school year of 2024 to 2025 may run from June 17, 2024 to April 11, 2025 for a total of 198 days with 44 days of school break. With this scheme, we could revert to the old schedule by school year 2024-2025 with very minimal adjustment and without sacrificing the mandatory 2-month school break for teachers. And by school year 2025-2026, we will be fully reverted to the country's traditional June to March school schedule, which has served our nation well for years, said TDC Chairperson Benjo Basas. Groups are urging the DepEd to revert to the old school calendar, citing the extreme heat experienced by students when in-person classes were held last March and April. The agency has yet to decide on the matter, but officials earlier said that reverting to the old calendar, if it pushes through, would be implemented gradually to ensure that there will be breaks between school years. Moving on to our global story. The next top story is brought to us by The Shed. Please scan the QR code to see their offerings. Singapore executes fifth prisoner this year for drug trafficking. Report from Agence France Press to the Philippine Star. Singapore executed a 39-year-old man who was convicted of trafficking heroin, the city-state's fifth hanging this year and the third in just over a week, authorities said on Thursday. Naghahabol sila. Muhammad Shaleh Abdul Latif was sentenced to death for possessing around 55 grams of heroin for the purpose of trafficking in 2019. His punishment was carried out on Thursday, the Central Narcotics Bureau, or CNB, said in a statement. According to court documents, Muhammad Shaleh worked as a delivery driver before his arrest in 2016. During his trial, he claimed to have believed he was delivering contraband cigarettes for a friend to whom he owed money. He became the 16th prisoner sent to the gallows since the government resumed executions in March 2022 after a 2-year pause during the COVID-19 pandemic. The execution comes less than a week after Singapore executed the first woman in nearly 20 years for drug trafficking despite condemnation from rights groups. Seridewi Binte Jamani, a 45-year-old Singaporean, was executed on Friday for trafficking around 30 grams of heroin. A local man, Muhammad Aziz bin Hussein, 57, had been hanged 2 days earlier for trafficking about 50 grams of heroin. The United Nations last week denounced the hangings and called for Singapore to impose a moratorium on the death penalty. Despite growing international pressure on the issue, Singapore insists that the death penalty is an effective deterrent against drug trafficking. The wealthy financial center has some of the world's toughest anti-drug laws. Trafficking more than 500 grams of cannabis or over 15 grams of heroin can result in the death penalty. Dito sa Pilipinas, ina-absuelto pa. Lalo na kung million-million ang pinapasok mo. Moving on to our regional top stories. Good morning, Ms. Jaja. Thank you for joining me this morning. Rains raise Angat Dam water level by 20 meters. Report by Ramon Efren Lazaro and Bella Cariaso to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. The water level in Angat Dam rose by 20 meters in less than 3 weeks, and heavy rainfall spawned by typhoons Egay and Falcon, as well as the southwest monsoon. Angat's water level was recorded at 198.99 meters as of 8 a.m. yesterday, compared to the previous day's 196.75 meters. Records from the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office showed. National Water Resources Board Executive Director Sevillo David Jr. noted that on July 14, the dam's water elevation was only 178 meters. We can say that Angat Dam is now with operating level. This is a good development, especially with our preparation for the possible El Niño phenomenon at the end of the year, David said. Angat Dam supplies more than 90% of Metro Manila's potable water needs. It also provides irrigation to 25,000 hectares of rice fields in Bulacan and Pampanga. Hindi na ngayon, pares na dagat ang Bulacan at Pampanga. Meanwhile, David said the operators of Ipo and Bustos dams continued to release water yesterday as the dams reached their spilling levels. Based on the report I received, there was mild release of water as rains were still experienced in the watershed, particularly in Ipo Dam, he said. The release of water from the dams had been blamed for massive flooding in many areas in Bulacan, which is now under a state of calamity. Bakit kaya hindi sinasama ang dagupan sa Pangasinan, no? Sa mga balita, samantalang lubog naman ito. Matagal ng lubog ang dagupan. Sana naman po ay mapansin ng mga media news outlet. Huwag pong manahimik. Good morning, Raquel Takmo. Thanks for joining. EDGA infrastructure damage balloons to 7 billion peso. Report by Elijah Feliz Rosales to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Damage to infrastructure due to Typhoon Egay reached more than 7 billion peso, even as over a dozen national roads were still impassable as of yesterday. Initial report pa lang po yan, ha? Hindi pa po tapos yan. The Cordillera Administrative Region or CAR incurred the biggest damage at 2.27 billion peso, with Abra posting the bulk of the losses estimated at 1.48 billion pesos, according to the Department of Public Works and Highways. Ilocos and Central Luzon recorded losses of 2.21 billion peso and 1.98 billion peso, respectively. The DPWH said infrastructure damage in Cagayan Valley has reached 483.17 million peso, Eastern Visayas 72.39 million peso, Calabarzon 38.88 million peso, and Soxargen 33 million pesos. Parang sweldo lang ng mga nasa BSP. The bulk of the damage was traced to the breakdown of flood control structures in 6 regions, particularly in Central Luzon at 1.87 billion peso and CAR at 1.73 billion peso. The DPWH said running damage to roads was placed at 1.25 billion peso. 16 national roads in Cordilleras, Ilocos, and Central Luzon remain closed. 15 other road sections were compromised by the typhoon, limiting access to motorists. These roads were affected by fallen trees, flooding, landslides, and soil collapse, among others. The DPWH said it deployed 587 workers aside from 119 equipment to clear and repair the damaged structures. Prior to the typhoon, the department prepositioned quick response teams consisting of 1,748 personnel and 823 equipment in 5 regions. In 2021, the Department of Finance reported that the Philippines loses an average of 48.9 billion peso annually from natural and man-made calamities. The DOF said this means the country forfeits up to 0.5% of gross domestic product, mostly to typhoons. The Global Climate Risk Index listed the Philippines as one of the countries most battered by climate extremities between 2000 and 2019. Hindi pa po kasama ang corruption doon. Icing on cake yung corruption. "119 rescued from sinking boats in northern Samar, Quezon." Report by Ed Amoroso and Evelyn Macairan to the Philippine Star. Good morning, John Oren Sabado. Good morning po. Manila, Philippines. Up to 119 passengers and crew members of 2 half-submerged motorized boats were rescued in northern Samar and Quezon in the past 2 days. 63 passengers of MB Jovel Express 3 were rescued when the boat capsized or boat started sinking after the hull was hit by a floating object in the waters off Polillo Islands in Quezon yesterday. The boat was on its way to Real when the accident occurred. In northern Samar, MB Spirit, which departed from Victoria Wharf at 6:11 a.m. on Wednesday, was headed to San Vicente when it encountered big waves off the coast of Barangay Pilar in San Antonio. A report received by the Philippine Coast Guard showed members of a PCG rescue team on board motorboat JC Brothers, as well as members of the Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office and local fishermen, were dispatched to conduct search and rescue operations. The rescued passengers were transferred to MB Lindy and brought to San Vicente. 3 fishing boats towed the damaged MB Spirit to San Antonio town. Investigations into the sinking shops are ongoing. Moving on to sports. Our news update for sports is brought to us by Hidden in Vietnam in BF Homes. Please scan the QR code to see their offerings. Nationals repulse Iranians. Report by John Brian Ulanday to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Gilas Pilipinas kick-started its Chinese trip in style, beating Asian power Iran 76-65 in the 2023 K1 WUS International Basketball Tournament last night in Guangzhou as part of the FIBA Basketball World Cup build-up. The Nationals, without multiple aces, leaned on a scattered attack led by Jamie Malonzo, Dwight Ramos, Calvin Oftana to fire off their final overseas journey on a high note. Malonzo had 11 points and 6 rebounds, while Ramos and Oftana, who missed the European training camp due to calf injury, threw in 10 apiece for the words of Coach Chot Reyes in the thick of preparations for the 32-team global spectacle on August 25 to September 10 at home. AJ Edu imposed his will down low, volleying 9 points and 9 boards as he teamed up with 6-time PBA MVP Junmar Pardo in anchoring the Gilas third quarter breakaway. Pardo had 4 points and 5 rebounds. Gilas trailed early at 8-12 and 21-23 after the opening salvo before taking control of the second period with 35-30 cushion following Renz Sabando's back-to-back triples. Gilas held a 40-34 gap at the turn. Abando finished with 8 points as R.R. Pogoy added the same output to join the party for Gilas, which broke the gates wide open in the third period of a CJ Perez triple for a 59-46 lead. Gilas, which played Sans, Jordan Clarkson, Kai Soto, and Scotty Thompson, was hardly threatened from there for a convincing triumph, heading to another huge duel against Senegal today. The Philippines also without naturalized players Justin Brownlee and Ange Kwame and duke it out once more versus Iran and Lebanon in additional friendly matches this weekend before going home. The Chinese pocket journey is part of the Gilas' final preparations as they geared for a rough World Cup stint in Group A against the Dominican Republic, Angola, and Italy. And that concludes our news updates for today, August 4, 2023. Time check, it's 6:24 in the morning. Good morning po sa lahat ng mga nag-join sa akin ngayong umaga at sa TikTok. JP197, good morning. Admin Sol, naka-tune in pala sa TikTok. Good morning, Admin. Bro Manny, good morning. Emmanuel Placido Reyes is also watching. Good morning, Manny. So good morning po sa lahat ng mga sumali ngayong umaga at sana po magkita-kita ulit tayo bukas for our regular Saturday program of Magkasangga sa Buhay. In TikTok, please like and share my videos in TikTok, and please follow me. Baka abot lang po ng 1,000 followers sa TikTok, pwede na pong isama sa akin live streaming using the digital platform para mas maganda po yung experience natin sa TikTok live. Please follow me there as well. Happy birthday kay Ate Tess Amurao. Good morning po. Birthday ni Mother ni Admin Sol. Good morning at happy birthday. More blessings for you and your family. And we'd like also to extend our condolences to the Balagtas family. Namatay po yung father ni Michelle Balagtas nung isang araw pa. So he was interred yesterday. So condolence po kila Cha at Michelle. At sa buong pamilya ng Balagtas. At dyan na po nagtatapos ang ating MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Maraming salamat po uli sa inyong pagpanonood at patuloy na pagsuporta. I'll be seeing you again tomorrow for our regular program. Thank you very much and God bless.